Hello, welcome back. This is Ona Christie. My channel is Art of Awakening, jumpstarting your own divine genius so that you can activate your spiritual superpowers, leave the dark nights of the soul behind, and create your own bright day of the soul. So it's like the last week, last week of 2019. Who else is giving up a big cheer for that? It's been quite the year. A lot of purging, a lot of cleansing, a lot of letting go, a lot of kind of interesting stuff happening this year. And we're looking at really a bright new decade ahead in 2020. I'm going to be doing a yearly reading, or just a reading for 2020. Like I did this last year. I used 3 different decks. I'm going to do the same thing again, a little bit different decks, but they're all going to be spirit animal decks, and we're going to look at each month of the year and just sort of like an overview of sort of a forecast for 2020. So, but right now we're just going to do a little bit of a reading for this coming week. Mention a little bit of energetic update here. I think if you have been, like many of us, stepping into your truth and shedding, getting yourself out of situations that didn't feel right, maybe making choices that may have resulted in having to let go of jobs, situations, people, relationships, habits, whatever it is. Well, congratulations if that's been you, because it's not easy. It can be very, very challenging and hard. So if you've been in that situation where you've had to do that, then just a couple words here, because, excuse me, just notice I have a shiny nose here. Just a couple words, because when we start stepping into our truth, if we haven't been completely in truth, and most of us haven't, right? It's very, very rare. I mean, that's what we're all really working towards, is stepping more and more into our own truth. But if we're stepping into our truth, it means that we've come out of a place that wasn't quite in alignment with who we are, who we want to be. And so when we start making changes like that, it's going to shift things around. And it's like, I'm thinking of Shiva, right? The god of destruction, who's also this beautiful god of creation. But it's like you have to tear things down sometimes before you can build up new. And sometimes that leaves us feeling badly, right? Or it leaves other people feeling badly. And because we have attachments that were predicated on maybe relationships or situations that weren't in our best interest. Okay, so when we build things on a foundation that's not, it's, I think, what maybe Jesus called building on a foundation of sand. If you're a builder, you may not agree with the sand rock analogy, but I think the idea is that if what we are, sometimes we can build good things on not so good foundations. And when that happens, it can be really, really painful, because we are sometimes asked to tear down perfectly good and wonderful things because the foundation wasn't correct. So if this is ringing true for you, a couple things that the guides are saying. One is recognize your own innocence. Because, we all got thrust into this crazy world, and the world itself, the culture that we were born into, this just, the energies that were here, that we got born into, were an unsolid foundation. And by bringing ourselves back into truth, we're helping to correct that. So recognize your innocence, right? And because there may be feelings of guilt that come up around tearing down things or letting go of things that really are dear to our hearts, perhaps, right? Or that appear to be really harsh to have to do. And it's going to surface potentially some really harsh feelings towards ourselves, sometimes other people's feelings towards us, sometimes it's our feelings towards others. And the thing is to realize that the soul is always innocent, and the more aligned choices that you make with your soul, okay, those choices, like, you have to just recognize that whatever choices you made before that led to the situation that you're now having to let go of, those were choices made doing the best that you could at the time with what you had. So it's super important to, first of all, just recognize you're okay. It's okay to make these choices. And second, to perhaps take some time and do some forgiveness work around it. You may have to forgive yourself for choices made in the past, or for having to make choices that are rough, hard. You may have to forgive other people. You may have to ask forgiveness of others, even if you can't do it directly. You can ask forgiveness from their soul. Okay, there may be a lot of forgiveness stuff, and this will help to just the final release, or just accelerate this letting go process and making it easier and smoother, because it's time now to step out of these feelings of guilt and so forth, and really step, as you're stepping into your truth, you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it because you're here to really do some good in the world, right? That's what we're all here for. So finding ways to forgive oneself, to let go. You may need to do some kind of a ritual or ceremony around it. There are meditations for that. But if you're feeling guilt, anxiety, maybe physical symptoms, headaches, things like that, that anything that you can trace back to any of this letting go that you might have been doing, then you want to consider, just in these final days of the year, doing some forgiveness work. All right, so let's look at this week ahead. And again, I'll be doing the yearly forecast very soon, so watch for that. But this is just for this coming week. I'm going to pull 3 animal cards. This is Susie Green's animal deck, and it's kind of cool. It's got some owls on the back. And I'll just pull probably about 3 cards and see what comes up for this coming. By the way, I hope that you all had a really, really wonderful solstice, Christmas, whatever it is that you celebrate, because it is the return of the light right now. All right, so coming up into this coming week, Panda is the first one. I'm just going to read what's on the card here. Enjoy the sanctuary of solitude to regain self-esteem and tranquility. I think that does tie in with what I was just expressing about self-forgiveness. Sometimes we need to just go within a little bit. This is a wonderful time of year to do that, especially in the next day or two, right before the big holiday, right? Maybe take a few hours or a day or whatever you need, or maybe on New Year's Day where everything kind of goes quiet, Hopefully you will be feeling fine and be able to take advantage of that time before the busyness and business as usual starts up again. To sit and digest, because Panda, they have this, like, they eat bamboo and they've got this huge stomach, right? And because bamboo is really tough, they have to do a lot of digestion, a lot of digesting. So kind of think back, to use this time, maybe use New Year's Day, think back over, just recall the high points, the low points of 2019, and look for the patterns and look for the lessons, like and look for the blessings. Where were the blessings that came out of everything that happened? And what are the lessons that you're going to take forward and put to good use in 2020? And here's this other one here, just sort of volunteered itself. Fox. Okay. I love this fox. Look at him. He's like, bleh. It's like, the card talks about sharpened senses and observing. And the first thing I was looking at is like, it looks like he's smelling something not so good, right? So I'm going to kind of go with that observation thing. Like, he's using all his senses and he's really kind of making a face. It's like, okay, so I'm just laughing at him. Look at him. Be aware this coming week. pay attention to what you're observing. And this is talking especially about the actions of others, okay? Um, I would say also the actions that you're observing yourself doing, okay? Really take some time and step outside of yourself, observe yourself, especially New Year's Eve, if you happen to be in party mode. And sometimes the best time to observe yourself is at those times where you maybe are letting yourself just sort of do whatever. And it's kind of interesting sometimes to see what can kind of take over and where you find yourself going, especially if you have a couple, right? I'm not advocating that yes, yay or nay, whatever, you do what you want. But sometimes when we're in that state of mind, it's easier to actually step back into that observer mode. It's like, wow, look what she's doing. Or look what that other person's doing. Maybe you're not having a couple, but you're gonna see people slamming them down right and left, and it's like, oh, well, take a look at what's gonna be showing through, because in situations like that, sometimes people let slip that persona that they hold, right? And you may be able to pick up on, you know, certain things about people that you may be able to really see into, is that their true self or not. And it may reveal certain things. Can that person be trusted? Because in that state of mind, people let slip sometimes things that they don't want to show, but sometimes things, really good attributes of people will show up as well. So just kind of look around at strangers too. You may see amazing acts of kindness that just look for it. And one more coming up, and let's do one maybe, see if it speaks to the latter part of the week. Haha, crab. All right, oh my, show your emotions and regenerate love. Okay. Okay, so crab is interesting because they have the hard shell and the soft shell, right? Every once in a while, crab has to split its shell and grow a new one, but it's really vulnerable in that period of time. Okay, so again, this is sort of a time between times right now, right here between the holidays, the time between the celebration and returning to the work world. It is sort of this vulnerable period, right? So I don't know. Let's see what's crab gonna tell us here. Kind of a funny crab. He looks like he doesn't have a shell, doesn't he? And he's kind of defensive. So show your emotions and regenerate love. I mean, don't be afraid. It's like if you've been wounded in the past, or if you've had to wound others, it can be hard to jump back into that, whether it's a romantic relationship or maybe it's a work relationship or whatever relationship it is. If you've been in that position of having to stand your ground, having to step in your truth, and in ways perhaps that sometimes we have to backtrack from the way we've been before, right? And if it's caused some upsetting emotions, it's really hard sometimes to jump back into that. Do I dare to love again, right? Or can I even look that person in the eye again, right? And so this ties in with that forgiveness. First of all, go through the forgiveness thing, and then really, sometimes staying true to yourself is saying no and letting go, and sometimes it's opening to receive, right? And opening to express oneself, right? Because sometimes it's like we get this hard shell. We have to put it up, right? But at other times, um, being willing to step out, even though it's vulnerable, it can be the most healing thing that there is. So again, do that in conjunction with Fox, right? And with Panda. I think all three of them, it's like, digest the past lessons, keeping aware of, is this, where's the actual truth, observing, people, and then being willing to open again to love, opening your heart to yourself, because it's always a new day. Right now it's just not just a new day, it's going to be a new year, a new decade, and we are really stepping into some new energies here. And let's really just release the past and just say, hey, look, shedding old shell, right? Old shell, I'm stepping into a brand new, bigger, more expanded way of being. My heart is expanded, and be willing to take the risk, right? Take the risk to love. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Share with whomever you feel it will be helpful for, and keep an eye out for my next video. Is going to be the annual forecast for 2020. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one. Catch you again soon.